Hello, and welcome to this NJCU Center for the Arts digital event. We would like to ask everyone to please keep your cameras and microphones off during the program. If you would like to contribute to the conversation during the program, you can do so via the chat window. At the bottom of your screen if you are on a computer, or possibly the top right if you're on a different device, you should be able to see an option for chat. If you click that, it will open the chat window where all participants can enjoy this experience together. Thank you, and enjoy the event. Please note, the views and opinions expressed in this virtual event and presentation are solely those of the individual artists in their personal capacity and are not reflective of nor represent official policy, position, or views of New Jersey City University.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our NJCU second BFA 2021 Artist Talk. I'm Stephanie Chaikin. I'm the director of the Center for the Arts at NJCU, and we're delighted to have you here. We have a tremendous group of artists to speak to you today. And I'm going to have Eileen Ferrara start us off. Eileen is an artist and curator with very deep roots in the Jersey City arts community. She is the acting co-director of the NJCU Galleries. And Eileen, if you introduce all the rest of our presenters today.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you, everyone at Center for the Arts. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're really looking forward to this second round of BFA Artist Talks. Professor Deborah Jack will be guiding us through the students' presentations today. She is the BFA Thesis coordinator. I know they've all been working hard together, and I'm really excited to have seen all of their work come together in the galleries. But just before we start, I wanted to briefly introduce our guest critic today and welcome her. Danielle Scott is a mixed media assemblage artist who grew up in Jersey City. She uses photo montage and found objects, paint, many other materials to create expressive and socially charged paintings and sculptures. Most of her work is very personal, and it's all based on her own life experiences. She has been an artist in residence with Mana Contemporary and also with the Eileen S. Kaminsky Family Foundation. And recently at 150 Bay Street, maybe still at 150 Bay, I'm not sure, with the Art Fair 14C residency program. And she recently curated the Empowering exhibit that was there earlier this year. She exhibits widely, and she will have her work in the NJ Arts Annual at Newark Museum. This year, Eileen S. Kaminsky Family Foundation as her Carol Danielle, has Artist of the Year for 2021. Danielle teaches at the Academy of the Arts at Snyder High School, which is right across the street from NJCU. She's been an art teacher there for 19 years. And I'm really glad she's able to join us. Thank you so much, Danielle. So I'm going to hand off to Deborah and get a drink of water.
Thank you, Eileen. Welcome, everyone, to our talks. And we're really excited to have this second group of students present their work to you. Last week, it was really great to see the work that our students put into their projects. And so I know you join me in being excited to hear more about their work today. So they're all going to give a short presentation of their BFA thesis work. These projects were all developed with the help of their mentors in the program. And so I'm going to start off with our first student, Bridget Benitez, who is going to present her work, Unsung Heroes of the Pandemic, and give us a glimpse as to what it meant for her and for others who've been working through this time that we've been living in. So Bridget, she's an illustration, she's a graphic design student.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bridget Benitez. I am a graphic design student, and this is my Bachelor of Fine Arts thesis presentation. Next. So what comes to mind when you mention heroes or use the term heroes? Usually, if you mention it to a kid, it's like you think about superheroes. But I had the opportunity to work with real heroes. Next. So what comes to mind when you mention heroes of the front line? Basically doctors, nurses, but in reality, there's so much more to it. And that's why I wanted to come up with this project with my mentor, Professor Janet. And I had the opportunity to interview nurses, doctors, certified nurses, and so much other co-workers of mine who participated in this project. Next. So there are people who aren't really aware of what goes on in the hospital. There are so many people who are ignorant that they only think it's only nurses and doctors who save lives, but it's actually a team effort. You cannot judge someone's role just because they do what seems like a simple thing. So I want to educate people about nurses, doctors, certified nurse assistant, respiratory therapists, lab techs, housekeepers, and so much more. Next. So as a healthcare worker working on the COVID-19 floor during the pandemic, I saw and I assisted nurses and certified nurse assistants who raced against time to save lives. This was something I wouldn't I never imagined to encounter as during my years as a healthcare secretary, but we got through it and we're still fighting for to save as many lives as we can. Next. So I made a magazine, 8x11 size magazine. This is the front cover. I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it because each individual story, I couldn't put everything in one cover. Next. I wish I was able to input everyone's images in who worked in the hospital, because everyone worked so diligently and worked so hard. But it wasn't possible because there is too many departments. So I only focused on what is now known as the COVID-19 floor. There was, starting off, it was only 41 staff members working on the COVID-19 floor. I made in the exhibit in the gallery, I enlarged this page because I wanted people to see the different faces. Even though you're wearing a mask, everyone's role is important. You can't tell who's who. Next. So this is one of the nurses, many nurses who just started, who graduated that year. And instead of, working as a typical nurse, he just jumped into the COVID-19 floor. So his experience was very interesting. So that's why I put him as the first one. Next. This is a lab tech, something you wouldn't expect. They also have to go to the COVID-19 rooms to draw labs and constantly do swabs to detect COVID-19 or not. I wanted to capture everything, like even the rooms. Like you can see how careful we were, how cautious we had to be, and we have to wear masks all the time. Next. This is a unit secretary's experience in the COVID-19 floor. Again, she had a long story because what we went through, it wasn't easy. Next. This is the personal care partners, or known as certified nurse assistants, who were a part of the battle. So it wasn't only the nurse in the room, it was them too, who would constantly go into the rooms especially during cold blues. The only two people you would see is a nurse and a certified nurse assistant. Next. Of course, like I mentioned before, it's not only nurses and doctors who are participating in this war zone, I would have to say. It was EKG techs, people who gave us the supplies, people who had to move patients from floor to floor or bring them to tests and things like that. Yeah, so I wanted to capture it all. Next. Tanya, so this her story was, I would have to say, was one of the most interesting ones and intriguing ones. She's a housekeeper, but her story was so impactful. Like, she had to move patients' bodies in the morgue because we have so many people passing away, sadly. But she had the strong heart and strong stomach to proceed with that. Next. Certified nurse assistants. Again, their stories are so impactful. So I wanted people to see like the faces of heroes, not what you just see in TV, their stories. Next. So behind this, I actually have family who inspired me to continue working. I had the chance to quit. I didn't have to continue working in a hospital, but watching my father continue working, and my grandmother and my grandfather who work in different facilities, I was like, I can do it too. They inspired me to continue working. So I definitely want to dedicate this project to them, because every role is important in the hospital, even though some people can be ignorant, but I'm sorry. But in the end of the day, seeing people come out of this alive, you feel like you made a change. Next. So I definitely want to give thanks to my mentor, Janet, my family, and my coworkers from Bayonne Medical Center. Thank you. Next. Any questions?
Danielle, do you want to jump in and provide some feedback for Bridget?
Yeah, wow.
Maybe we all need a moment. Very powerful.
Bridget, your work is extremely moving, very powerful. I salute you for giving voices to the unknown, the unseen, and those who are behind everything that happens to save lives. As I was watching the video, I was very, very moved. And then I saw Tanya. Tanya is a very good friend of mine. I've known her for many years, Tanya James. And I know her family. I'm very, very close to them, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised that you highlighted her and what she does, because she has such a big big heart and a big spirit. This project itself, that's what you see. When you think of heroes, like we're so conditioned to see superstars or you know, all these people on TV. We're not conditioned to see nurses, teachers, professors, cops, mothers, dads. We're not conditioned to see that. And the fact that you put all of this, there's so much into this project. There's so much emotion. And then the inspiration behind it, your dad, your grandmother, your mother, just pushing you to do this. I can see that you put all of yourself into this project. I would continue to work in this way. It's personal, but it's not. And it's so nice that you're giving light to those who deserve it, because it's unfortunate that those people don't get that light every day, and they're not put in the forefront of what they do and the dedication and commitment that they put into their daily lives. And they're risking their own lives every day by being on the front line. This project is amazing. It's really, really beautiful, and it's you feel it very deep inside. And I thank you for I thank NJCU for inviting me to kind of experience it, because it resonates deeply inside of me. It's a beautiful project, Bridget, and congratulations. Continue.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. And so we're going to move on to our next student, Zhnai, who is in the painting concentration. She's going to show us her thesis project that's personal, but also challenges art historical ideas of beauty, especially when it comes to the nude. So I'm going to invite Zhnai to present.
Welcome, everyone, friends, family, professors, and classmates. This series experience has helped me grow and build self-confidence. I explored many avenues about being a woman, person of color, and full-figured. Next, please. So this is part of my statement, my full-on statement. And what I take from this the most is my investigation that was uncovered of the lack of women in color throughout history altogether, and historical paintings mainly. Next. Creative process. So my creative process in the presentation will be shown after each shaped piece. It will be a thumbnail on how I came to get each background color. Next. Embody series. Embody series is an expression or give intangible or visible form to an idea, qualify, or feeling. I'm taking up space as I'm growing through my paintings. Next. At My Leisure is the painting that gave me the start with the series and led the way for my research. My aim for this painting, which goes for all, is to have the audience feeling empowered and embracive of nudity around the time where I myself was discovering and experiencing vulnerability. Next. These shapes, supports, frames, represents for how I believe society views a woman's body, fitting into the societal norm. I wanted to experiment with the shapes and figures. This series is just one of many stereotypes I'll be challenging along my journey. Next. Next. My thumbnails after each piece shows my creative process on how I chose the background color. As far as which body part to put in each shape, it just happened. Next, please. This is the diamond, a part of my, not the diamond, the triangle, a part of my Embody series. Next. This is the thumbnails. So for the colors that I was going for all of them was basically muted colors, so it doesn't overpower the figure that is being shown in each shape canvas. Next. 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 I find that the form for these paintings inspired a sense of acceptance. Me using myself as the model challenged how I view myself as a woman, full-figured, and being an African American. Next. Next. For this series, my inspiration mainly came from photographers, Carrie Mae Memes, Deanna Lawson, and Nona Faustino Simmons. Next. Next. So these thumbnails were for my bigger final piece, which was untitled and is based off historical painting. And I was using the mirror more so as what I want the audience to look at. Next. I find it exhilarating putting myself out here because I feel like it was going to happen regardless in this journey of me challenging stereotypes of full-figured women. Thank you for listening to my artist talk. I appreciate your time, and I would like to make a special thanks to my professors and mentors. Thank you. Any questions? I'll be gladly to answer them. Do I quote the question? Guess.
Deborah, should I go? Z, the work is really, really powerful. I love the compositions. I love the scale. I love the just the quality of your paint, your rendering, the way that you're manipulating the canvases. So you have the circles, you have the squares, you have the triangles, you have the diamonds, and then you have the hourglass. I think it's nice to see, one, a female of color doing work like this, where you're actually exposing yourself. You're very vulnerable and you're allowing people in to get to know you more. And that, again, goes with society and the way that they look at females. They think that females should be built a certain way in order to share themselves or show their bodies. I love that you're vulnerable. I love that you're sharing your body, yours, not someone else's, in this series. You know, so many women walk around and they're afraid of what their body looks like, you know, when they gain weight or when after they have a child. They are afraid of their stretch marks after having children, but those are our marks. We earn those because we carry children inside of us, you know. So seeing this is just like, wow. And the other part of it, the piece where you have the woman and you see her vagina, a lot of people are afraid of the vagina. It is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen, and children come out of it. I don't know why people are afraid to say the word vagina, why they're afraid to see the vagina, because magical things happen in that one little space, you know, especially when a child that's 6 pounds, 7 pounds, 10 pounds can come out of there. So you're actually adorning the female and you're adorning yourself. It's like, for me, I look at it as this beautiful self-love series that you know, that you're sharing with everyone. You're sharing all parts of you. And I really like the size. Like the sizes, the scale is beautiful. Like the small ones and then the big ones. The last one, if you turn to the back, and you can see your tattoo. I love the composition of that piece. So I don't know if you're photographing yourself or if someone else is photographing you, but it's really beautiful. The colors are, I love this. I love it. And just the black and white reflection, that you're looking deeply inside of your own self. So it's like a self-reflection piece. So it's just, again, it's powerful. It's very emotional. I can connect to this, to what you're saying and what you're doing. And I think all the women that are in here can probably connect to that as well. And thank you for being that artist that's vulnerable to put it out there so that people can see it. Because normally you're in college, you're drawing other models that come in and stand on this pedestal. You're using yourself. You're putting yourself as a female artist of color on this pedestal. You're lifting yourself up and making everyone see you. You're visible to the world and not some other person, some other model that just comes in and is placed on that pedestal for us to draw. So as a trained oil painter, I love all parts of your work. This is really beautiful. And I thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot, everyone.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. So we're going to go on to our next student presenter, Cindy Alviar, who's an illustration student, and she's going to present her project, A Piece of Paradise. It's a project about, I guess, positivity during this past year.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So my name is Cindy Alviar. My project is called A Piece of Paradise. So I wanted this to be a series of a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle. I created the packaging and each puzzle to have an illustration that represents an inspiring quote. Next. So since we're all going through this difficult time that has affected us emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that's why I wanted to show my deep-rooted beliefs of God the Father and God the Mother, because it helped me build that habit of positivity. So I wanted to share that through this project and create this hope-instilling design that portrays those feelings of positivity, comfort, and love. Next. So for this piece, it's called Father Sacrifice because it relates to the quote that says, starting can be the difficult part of a journey, just take the first step. So the character is inspired by Second Coming Christ sent him home because through his sacrifice, we're able to start that journey of eternal life through the feast of the Passover. But not only that, it actually represents also my dad's sacrifice for each step that he took to support me and help me to get where I am today. Next. And this one is called Mother's Love because it correlates to the quote that says, the brightest stars are those who shine for the benefit of others. So just like the title says, it is inspired by a mother's love because just as we have our moms who gave us life and give us this unconditional love to us, it is actually the same thing spiritually because this represents the existence of the female image of God or God the Mother. Next. This is my favorite one. It's called Happy Family because it correlates to the quote that says, love begins by taking care of the closest ones, the ones at home. So I specifically chose the colors and the scenery to represent something peaceful to look at. It's meant to express that happiness in a family that brightens everyone's heart and is the reason why I created it to be a jigsaw puzzle because it's to embody the moments of completing the puzzles together with my family. Next. This one is called The Vast Field because it represents the quote that says, the scariest moment is always just before you. So this one relates specifically to my journey. Now being able to face in the world, you see that there's so many different options, or sometimes I may feel lost. How is it that I can achieve my goal? It can be scary or overwhelming, but as soon as I take the first step and keep my eyes on the goal, it will guide me to the right path. Next. Which brings me to this other one that also represents my self journey, because it represents the quote that says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So I wanted to also share myself and my own motivation that keeps me going, not only through myself, but through the help and support of everyone around me to get to where I am today. Next. And then this is a last piece that I wanted to share, the one spark that correlates to the quote that says, changing the world doesn't happen all at once. It is not a big bang, it's an evolution, and the sum of a billion tiny sparks, and the sum of those sparks will have to come from you. So through this specific artwork, I wanted to share everything that I've learned through all my experiences and how important it is to take those obstacles and the negativity around us as the opportunity to push forward to our lives. So through my artwork and through the experiences, I hope it will inspire others to join me also, so we can be the light of positivity to the world. And that is my project. Thank you.
Cindy, all the colors are so, so beautiful. They're very serene and very peaceful. And I love how the colors go with the titles go with the quotes. And all these pieces are now made into puzzles.
Yes.
They are. And you did that because of the pandemic and the state of the world that we're in?
Yes, during this time, or just my experiences before, any difficulty in general, like a compilation of what I've realized now.
I think that's very genius, because with the pandemic, we've been forced to stay away from people. It's like we're kind of broken. We're all experiencing some mental health things. We're experiencing, emotional things. And a lot of people know in families, people come together and they put puzzles together. That's one, there's some families have that tradition of doing these puzzles during Christmas or doing these puzzles during different celebrations. And I think it's so wonderful that you have these beautiful, serene pieces, and they can go out to families and people, and they can come together and put the broken pieces back together. And I think that's what the pandemic did to a lot of us. It separated us, one, from our families. Two, it broke a lot of families. We lost family members. Just that break in our lives. And what I see with your work is that connectiveness, and people coming back together in this beautiful way. And just the colors, like I'm so drawn to your color palette because of what it makes me feel inside. It makes me feel very peaceful. And I would want to sit and put these together. If I had got the box, and the box, of course, is, the tiny puzzle pieces, I want to put it together to see what's going to come out. And all of them are so beautiful. Like if I didn't see the images put up, I still see the color palettes, and the color palette makes me want to put the pieces together. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's that, giving these puzzle pieces to a family that has been separated for so long, and then them sitting down and putting it together and seeing what that beautiful image, what's going to emerge from these tiny pieces being put together. So it's kind of like a broken heart. You walk around with a broken heart, and then finally all the pieces kind of go back together and they're mended. So that's what I see when I see your work. Congratulations, Cindy. It's a beautiful, beautiful series that you've put together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy. I just want to let the students know you should probably read the chats. You're getting a lot of positive feedback, and thank you so much for our audience members for giving such amazing feedback to the students. So we're going to continue on with our next presentation. Juliet Alicea, who's an illustration student, and she's going to present her project Through the Leaves, where she's going to show us a world that she's created.
Hello everyone, I'm Juliet Alicea and I'm an illustration major. For my BFA, I decided to do concept art for a story that I created called Through the Leaves. I was always inspired by the magic within fantasy stories such as Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Spiderwick, and Narnia, so I decided to make my own little world. Now, Through the Leaves is a story of betrayal, vengeance, and loss that follows my leafy friend here and a girl named Kamala. Next. This leafy creature here I call the lichen is pretty much how the story began. He started off as all crappy sketches do, and I just kept fidgeting with him until he finally became what he is today. The only thing that was missing was to place him in a world to existence, so that's where the rest of the work came in. I began focusing on the environment and some of the other creatures that exist in this world. Next. This crazy guy is called a Zakai, and although he may look a bit dorky and harmless, if he existed, you wouldn't want to cross paths. He's part chameleon, part ostrich, which makes him great at camouflaging despite his size, and has the long tongue of the chameleon, and is also carnivorous, so he's a pretty scary guy. I wanted this character to also have the beady eyes of the chameleon to add to the dorkiness of his character and make him appear less threatening than he really is. Next. For the last of the creatures that I designed, this is the Sankori. The Sankori have the attributes of the Oxalotl, and for those of you who may not know what that is, it's a salamander, which makes this creature not only good at climbing trees, but an excellent swimmer. The Sankori in my story are also respected in Kamala's tribe as being sacred beasts. Like the other creatures in my designs, I searched for multiple references, learned as much basic anatomy of these creatures that I could, and played around with the usage of color. Next. In this design, I worked on what Kamala's village would look like, or well, at least a part of it. This is supposed to be the lower class of the village, and in this section of the tribe, they catch a majority of the meats, which are fish. With this design, along with the other designs that you'll see, I focus way too much on the little details. I'll sit there and draw every leaf, every bamboo on those huts for hours because I'm crazy. But besides that, when painting my designs, I try to incorporate as many colors as I can into a piece and try to make it as vibrant as possible so they stand out. It's like in my imaginary worlds, the world isn't grayish or dull, it's filled with color, and it's supposed to enchant the viewer into wanting to be there. Next. This is a interior design of what one of the huts would look like, specifically Kamala's. She has the spears that she uses for hunting, fishing, and fighting hung on her walls, textiles, and some pottery. Next. This is just the prop sheet of the items within the hut so that you can get a better look at the small details that were put into it. Next. For this illustration, I painted the temple in which the elders of the tribe reside. Most of the village meetings are held inside here. For the out in the distant trees, I wanted to keep it soft and almost watercolor-like so that it would still be relatively detailed enough without drawing too much attention away from the main focus being the temple. For most of my illustrations, I try to give this feeling of looking in, where the viewer feels as if they're standing there looking through the trees or looking through the leaves. To aid in helping that feeling, I added the flowers in the foreground of the painting to lead the viewer towards the doorway of the temple. Next. This illustration showcases the Lycaeans' grove. It's supposed to be a calm, peaceful area in which the Lycaean reside. I wanted the illustration to have a soft feeling and try to keep these colors more on the softer side rather than vibrant like my other illustrations. The brush that I used also helped a lot with giving this area a softer appearance. Next. For this, I just wanted to familiarize myself with some of the different foliage that could appear within the story and try to keep a consistent style all the way through. Next. Here's another piece that has a looking in feel. This is the sacred spring, which in my story is where lies that have been told start to unravel. The spring that has this magical attribute that when two people are in the spring together, they are able to see each other's memories. Next. As for my final piece, I took a shot at making a life study of an environment. I started off easy and did the morning study first, and when I finished that, I just copied and pasted it for the sunset and night studies, and I tried to change as much of the colors I could with using just adjustments, but anything adjustments couldn't do, I painted those other details in. And that's all for my work. Thank you.
Juliet, these are really beautiful. I feel like I am there. Like I went from my couch to inside of your images. I'm just wondering, are you going to publish these in books so that they can be shared, or are they going to be animated?
I would like it to be animated, but the closest thing would probably be in books at the moment.
Yeah, I can definitely see them in books for children. I mean, they're not even children, adults. I mean, they're so beautiful. I love the rendering. I love the color. I love the details. The greens are very rich and vibrant. Like everything is vibrant. What I'm getting from them as I'm like looking, I'm thinking of like Krishna and Hanuman and Ganesha from the animation of the creatures that you have. I think they're really beautiful. The one that I like the most is the monkey who looks like a lizard. Is it a monkey?
Yeah, it's like a monkey in Oxalado.
Yeah, Sankori. I think Sankori is really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
And I love that the Sankori is gold. So I think that you should do books, animate them, and just to kind of, I don't know how they will look to come to life and be a part of like a cartoon where you can actually see them moving about in these worlds that you've created. They're really, really beautiful. And I think anyone would like to see it because of the color palette that you have, because of the creatures that you have going on. I mean, even though like, what is it? Zaki? Zakai, like you were saying that he's, he looks very cute, but he could be vicious and you don't want to be near him. But, I would want to see how he is like in life, by the way that you described him and what I see, because he looks very cute. I love his detail. I love his colors. Someone would be like, oh, he's not scary. But if we were able to see it, we would know like his mannerisms and the way that he is, So it's just the visuals, just the world. I want to be there. I want to walk through there if I could. Like I could live there because of the waterfalls. I love waterfalls. I love nature. I saw a hibiscus and I was just like, oh my God, like that's one of my favorite things. What else was there? The Birds of Paradise was there as well. So there's a couple different things and I'm like, I would love to be surrounded by that. So it's just a world that's really beautiful. And I love the green that's being used. It's all the greens are very, very different, but it makes you want to be in this fantasy or in this world. So I would definitely think you might, I know you can illustrate it, but I would love to see it animated and, be maybe a game that, people can play. I don't know.
It would be cool if it could be either of those things.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was helpful. I mean, I'm not an illustrator, at all, but just seeing the detail and the time and the dedication that you're putting into them, I think that it would be great for it to be put out there for other people to experience it in this way.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And so we're going to move on to Matt Burns, who's a graphic design student, and he's going to present his project titled Bob, which is sort of an illustrative story. So Matt, you're up.
All right. All right. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Burns, and I'm a graphic design major. First, I want to thank my mentor, Professor Quinn, for helping me establish this project, and Professor Dietrich for helping me set it up in gallery. Also, I want to give special thanks to my mom for allowing me to pursue this project. It was a hard time in our lives, and I appreciate the understanding and allowing me to illustrate it. Next. So I was going to give a little background of myself. I was born and raised here in Jersey City, and I really got into art around the age of 13 when I first got into the artistically talented class. I was inspired by a lot of cartoons and anime, and even though they were the foundation for my art, I wouldn't necessarily call myself cartoony. All the images are digital illustrations made with Adobe Illustrator, and they are 11 by 17, except one, which is 17 by 11. And the order, as you shall see them, are especially important when viewing the series. The concept of the story is based around mortality and the human condition seen through the eyes of my family within the last 3 years of my grandfather's life. In the series illustrations, you will see, you'll be able to see the decline of the central character known as Bob. The characters remain faceless to be depersonalized a bit and provide possibility to input your own family member's face. Even if you do not connect to your grandfather, it allows the possibility of putting yourself in the same shoes of this as a central character and understand the possible future you could have or even a loved one could have. Now we'll go through my images, giving a brief explanation of each. Next. So here is a central figure and his wife obviously sharing a true loving moment with each other, where Bob is looking at his wife very endearingly. This is a time meant to be their anniversary to emphasize their love is strong even after 60 years of marriage. Next. The figures love going to Atlantic City and walking the boardwalk, and an image of them in a casino is really romantic, so I figured showing the boardwalk was a perfect scene to add into the series. Next. The illustration with the young man is to show that their love had given rise to a new generation and shows their affection for each other and even their grandchildren. Next. Like the last illustration, you could see with the addition of older figures and even younger ones, you can see that their love and the love of their family is strong, where this image is to show that their love had spanned 4 generations. Next. This image, it has a very blunt idiom planted within the sunset, illustrating the closing of a chapter and one of the biggest turning points to the story. Next. The image of all members dressed up in mostly dark colors is to show the viewer that something is off. And up until this point, you see the main character and his wife together, but obviously that is not the case this time. Next. Now that his love is gone, a recurring theme is placed throughout this with the central figure looking away to tell of the distancing that would slowly follow. Next. In this image, you see the central figure in what seems to be his home bedroom with the newest addition to the series, an ashes box for his late wife. Next. This image being the only one with portrait orientation is the next big turning point, because this is showing the fragility of the central figure and the walkers illustrate the need of assistance. This is the last time he is truly at home before what happens to most elderly people, where he is put in home for better care. Next. These begin the series of institution-based illustrations where the same concept, main character looking away even with the presence of his family member, the main character lacks interest and it starts to eat at him. Next. This illustration shows our figure in his room and he is just sitting in his wheelchair there, nothing on a TV, and the ashes box right next to the TV. The figure is sitting in a wheelchair, almost as if he is waiting for help. Next. In this illustration, the central figure is in the nursing home dining hall, and the central figure is not alone because he has a family member right next to him, but he's the only occupant that isn't with other elderly people. And the other addition of the cake allows to show this could be an event or a birthday of some sort. Next. This illustration shows the figure lying down at dinner time when he should be up and eating, watching TV, but he lacks the motivation. At this point, it seems like he's prepared for what is coming for him. Next. Finally, we have an illustration where the central figure is gone, but we have 2 people seeming like they're comforting each other, symbolizing like his life, he has passed on and succumbed to mortality or the human condition. Next. And finally, this project is dedicated to my late grandparents. They were the inspiration for this whole project. So that's it. And thank you for your time.
Matt, this project is very beautiful, extremely deep. And even without you telling the stories for each image, the illustrations are very simple, but very moving. And I can look at the images and see kind of what's happening in all of them and actually feel it. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can tell what's going on, the feeling that's happening, just all of it, the stories. And I think for me, it's bringing up some emotions because my grandparents were married for about 60 years, 60, 65 years. And, when they lose each other, it's pretty hard because they've been together for so long that, they follow behind each other because their hearts break, after losing, one another. And it also affects, the family, and you can see that. So there's two images where I know it's you. I can see you in those images. And they're so beautiful. The illustration is so strong. It's very, very powerful. Like, you don't need anything else for, if someone was to see these up in a gallery, they would probably understand the story behind each of them without having to ask you. Like, you don't even have to explain these pieces with, if I was to walk up to them, I would probably gather the story and what's going on. And I think when we do work with our family members, it becomes very personal. It's very deep, and it's hard to kind of do it and to talk about it. But it's I love artists who pay homage to their family, and if you heard Eileen speak, that's what I do. I mean, it's very important to share that because that's who we are. That's why we exist, and that's why we create, and we get inspired from those family members. So like I said, the illustration is so beautiful, it's so powerful, and I think anyone seeing these can feel the energy and feel what you're trying to say without you even telling the stories, because it's just there. It's so present what's happening in these images. I mean, I'm hoping that my critiques to all of you is helping. I don't know if Eileen or Doris told you, or Deborah, I'm a very shy artist. So I do thank you guys for inviting me to see this. It's captivating. It's really beautiful, Matt. And I'm getting choked up and emotional because I was very close to my grandparents. So seeing this is just, it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your work and sharing yourself and your family with everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. I don't know why that. So we're gonna look at our next student who's going to present, Ethan Dsouza. So one little comment I did want to put here: almost all the work is on view at the gallery, but Ethan, due to the conditions created with COVID and the many restrictions, is having to present internationally. And so you wouldn't be able to see his work in the gallery, but you can certainly view it online. So we'll move to Ethan, who's a digital design and illustration student, and he's going to share a series of narrative paintings with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ethan Dsouza, and my BFA project consists of several different paintings, which are made using acrylic and charcoal. The paintings are either made on canvas or packaging paper, and their dimensions range from 40 by 60 inches to 60 by 84 inches. There are a couple of constant elements that my art embodies or consists of. Next slide, please. My artwork consists of a basic metaphoric idea found amongst the reality and things in life. I try to narrate a moral, ethical, or rational dilemma one may face in their lifetime and not offer a solution, but offer compassion. Next slide, please. I then add humor whilst blending it with a satire or morbid or hysterical quality to add to the subject matter, further dramatizing or in some instances romanticizing the composition. For me, it is important to add humor because one thing I would want anyone or any viewer to take away from my art is to leave with either a muted smile or a chuckle. And if I'm lucky, leave with a new, different train of thought or perspective. Humor also helps me challenge the fixation of one's belief, which helps me look at things from different perspectives. Next slide, please. Symbolism is another element I use to give the work a certain gravitas. Thus, working on a large scale helps me as I try to make the painting a large window or entity of energy oozing, a philosophical idea merged with an overwhelming emotion. Next slide, please. I also try to create ironical situations in my work to make my compositions have a certain impact and challenge an idea or birth a new one. This may make my work provocative in a way, which I think helps the entire concept or intention behind the composition. Next slide, please. I then further radicalize the subject matter to challenge ideologies as well as building the connotation of the composition in a profound manner. I guess this is one of the qualities I use to try and make my work different yet acquire a certain essence. Next slide, please. The meaning and emotion added to my work is more important than the composition itself. These ideas, opinions, or even absurd theories that I have or come up with are personal to me, but on a level they are or can be very humanly relatable to all. Next slide, please. I do try and experiment with my method to approach a painting or the style of it as I learn more, and since this is a very early stage in my art career. But an aspect that I would say is frequent or prevalent is the quickness and rapidness of the lines and brushstrokes present in my work. I like to create a sense of urgency in my compositions. Thus, I will use a lot of contour lines and rough brushstrokes to further add a sense of anxiety, uneasiness, and dynamism, yet at the same time having control of the paint and charcoal. Next slide, please. I would say my style of painting currently is a combination of expressionism with instances of certain scenarios from reality portrayed in an illustrative format. My paintings or illustrations usually have a discourse in the form of an essay or a poem that goes with the artwork. The writing does not explain the work, but adds to it in a manner of thought and reason for the work itself. In other words, it is the artwork itself, but in words. My aim is to make a philosophical point to provoke thought and effectively and hopefully evoke a smile in the viewer. This was my BFA thesis. I want to thank Professor Hugo Bastidas, who mentored me and helped me out a lot. Thank you all for listening.
Ethan, I love the scale of these pieces. It would be nice to see them because I see the large scale of them, and just to be in front of them to kind of feel what's happening. Each piece has so much feeling in it. Like you could just you look at the images, you look at the contour lines, and each what's going on there. You know what's happening. I love the rawness of them. And is there a reason for you using the packaging tape or the packaging paper?
It's cheap and I can afford it. That's the only reason. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like the piece that's up, Twosome, Threesome, Foursome, Lonesome. it's like I can feel all of it and what's happening with the person that's there, that there's so much emotion in these pieces, that like the depth of you, I can see you in these pieces, meaning you're pouring yourself into what you're creating. There's this huge feeling to them that you can't escape it. So I'm looking at the size and I'm like, wow, like I really would like to stand in front of them and take them in. When they are they displayed where they have breathing space so that the viewer can actually just see them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're it's really beautiful. The work is terrific. Like, wow. And again, same thing. You can tell what's going on. The story. No, you don't even have to speak when you stand in front of these to kind of know what's going on. It's right there. It's in your face. The colors also, I love the way you're using the colors. The colors are what's drawing me in, and then the simple contour lines that you're placing in there. And even they're not realistic, but the expressions are so predominant on the faces. This is beautiful. Yeah. They're really, really beautiful. I think this is one of my favorites, Brothers Before Sisters.
Thank you.
Just the brothers and the way that they're helping each other and they're walking away from a situation. Like, I really love that.
Thank you.
Madonna and Child. I think that's one of my favorite piece of yours. I love that feeling and just seeing the mom holding the child, the brushstrokes, the way they're moving. It's moving with her, the energy that's surrounding her. I'm a mother of 3, so this is a very beautiful image, very beautiful. And I'm looking at the scale, like, wow, I would love to see this up close. Thank you for sharing, Ethan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to our next student, Alex Melo, who's presenting. He's a painting and drawing student, and he's going to show us his work and investigation on the fragility of the mind, my interpretation.
Thank you, Deborah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me, or us. I've had a wonderful opportunity because of the university to experiment in different ways with different mediums, and my journey has brought me to this series of paintings. I'd like to thank all of the professors at the university that have guided me in this journey, as well as my mentor, Professor Hugo. Next, please. I originally started this series to cope with the mental decline of a family member. As I started to research what dementia does to the human brain, I became interested in visually conveying what dementia is. I wanted to personify dementia and give it a visual representation. As his family member started to decline and lose certain aspects of his ability to remember and function normally, I could only imagine what he's going through. These paintings are just that, my interpretation of the loss of reality. I wanted to bring life through the color into these paintings, but also create a sense of tension and confusion. Next, please. This painting is titled Memory. For each painting, I had to interview family members and also try to recollect my own memories and recreate rooms that housed everyday memories. Whether these memories are minuscule in significance or memories that are priceless, they each hold an imprint of someone's existence. Next, please. I've drawn inspiration from artists such as Mark Rothko and his use of color and how his use of color brought forth a certain emotion. Joseph Albers and his color theory, and Thomas Naskowski and how some of his concepts are derived from memory. Next, please. So the goal with this particular series is to convey the notion of loss of reality and perception. These paintings are perhaps the notion of a disassociated mental state of mind by someone who perceives reality differently. Next. It is safe to say that by and large, we all have a different experience on life, and these rooms can be figments of one's imagination and or fading memories. Next. They could represent an illusion of tranquility or confusion that sometimes is not grounded in reality, however, built on one's own reality. A metaphorical choice of a viewer's point of perception, looking into a windowsill, where exists a reconstructed room of a memory significant to this person, is the basics to this group of paintings. Next. In other words, a room from memory that sometimes can be perceived as a reality. Even now in the climate we're in, we find ourselves in the reversal, looking out of the window within the safety of our own homes. Next, please. We find ourselves confined and imagining a different circumstance, a different outcome to what has been going on. And this is the conclusion of my BFA. Thank you, everyone.
Alex, these are really emotional. Like, they're so simple, but so, wow. I think I'm at a loss for words. I thank you for sharing it. They're really beautiful paintings. The concept, they make me think of Matt as well, in the way that you made the images so simple. I would want to hear the stories of each room. I'm drawn into the rooms to imagine like who was there, what they were doing, what they were saying, what did they experience in those rooms. The one with the couch and the plant, just thinking like who sat there, what were they talking about, what did they share in that room, and then the color details of the room is just the actual room where it was happening. These are very, very emotional. I think with all of the students that are sharing right now, you're sharing deep parts of you. And I think that is what the artist is supposed to do. And some artists don't do that. They don't really share themselves. They don't let people in. And I'm seeing that with, I guess, this generation of artists that are at NJCU. You guys are really feeling when you create. And I don't think it was just from the pandemic. I think it is just something that's inside of you, and you're telling your stories of who you are, where you come from. And it's making me emotional looking at them. And I thank you for that, because a lot of work doesn't do that. You know, people go into museums and galleries, they look at a piece, they walk past. With everyone who shared, I can see myself standing there for a while and taking in each piece, you know, what Ethan just shared, Matt, you, Juliet, I mean, everyone. Your work is beautiful, and that's for everyone. So like I'm at a loss because they are emotional, and just the depth of what you explain. I love them. Thank you for sharing yourself again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so our next presenter is going to be Calvin Palmer, who's a painting and drawing student. He's going to be sharing with us a series of paintings that I guess deal with the transformative nature of gardening and planting for kids. And so Calvin, you'll tell us more.
Good afternoon. My name is Calvin Palmer. I'm very happy to be here to share my thoughts on my BFA thesis. Next. Just a brief background. I've been painting all my life. I think my parents thought I was hyperactive, so they got me a painting set and then pencils, and I continued in high school and the Army, and I graduated from Hudson County College and soon to graduate from New Jersey University. Next. Subject matter was always portraits, and later I the schools of everyone in school I tried to paint, and then later I got involved in gardening, and then I became a master gardener. Next. As a master gardener, I worked with seniors and with the youth. Matter of fact, their youth organization called the 4-H club. And during that time, I noticed that I would work with youth for a season, sometime 4 to 5 months. And they would be complaining the whole time, except when it came to harvest. When it came to harvest, I noticed something that inspired me to the utmost. Every single one of them at the moment of harvest was rejoicing. Regardless how difficult the past was, at that time, they enjoyed it. They had a sense of accomplishment, they had a sense of pride, and it appeared to me they had a new sense of identity. And because of that moment was an inspiration that I never had. As an artist, I've always just drew or painted something, but I never was inspired to do something. This series totally took me someplace that I'd never been before. Because I was painting not just to be accurate, not just to make it look good, but I wanted to share something with somebody else. Next, please. Each one of these paintings I did a series of 7 and 3 was selected. And what I tried to do was the color, bring in texture, but the main thing is what I saw that made a difference was the technique. When I was using just wet on wet, my other paintings came out flat. Then I started glazing, scumbling, and wet on dry. And all of a sudden, everything came to life. Next. This painting I really like because I utilize of color again, but of the glaze or the glare that the students are looking at, you can see that they're all impressed with the harvest. And the whole point of the harvest, as I stated, was personal achievement. And that personal achievement that started at that moment, my hope is that it will continue with these youth throughout their life. And again, to share that moment of excitement, not just for them, but for myself, and hopefully anyone else who sees my paintings will get a sense of that which I try to portray. Thank you.
Kelvin, the paintings are full of life. And maybe that's why this series sparked something in you where you felt very different. Like just the children alone, their images, they look so peaceful with picking up, what I would say as a vegan, live foods. They're picking up something. Did they grow these things with, did they grow the carrots with you? Did they grow the watermelon?
Yes.
So you see what they're feeling from, you gave them something, you taught them how to grow something, and they were able to go out and reap the harvest of what they learned from you. So it's like, parents are, when your parents teach you something And then you're like, oh, wow, now I know why my mother said that, or why my dad said that, or why my mom or dad did that. And you can just see this. It's their faces, they're so happy to experience this with you. And I can see why you painted that. You know, I was kind of talking to a friend recently, and she's from the Choctaw Indian Reservation in Mississippi. And she said to me, you know, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but we do celebrate the harvest.
Yes.
And when we celebrate the harvest, we all come together. Everyone on the reservation is there to bring something. So they don't do Thanksgiving. And then when you said harvest, it made me think of the gathering of people together, people celebrating and bringing everything, that all their traditions from their families together. So I think that's why you probably felt so differently with this series. There's so much life in this. There's so much love in this. There's so much giving in this. And just these children, I'm looking like you gave these children something just by teaching them how to plant, giving them a part of you that you love. And now they're able to share that. Like the images are just so beautiful. I mean, wow. Again, like I said before, I think all the artists that are in here, like your work is so deep. Like it just, and I think for everyone can probably agree, like you feel the work. You can see what is happening with them. And even, you know, it makes me think of my grandparents when I was picking grapes with them, or what they went out and they planted and they taught us, you know. So the color palettes are beautiful.
Thank you.
That
Thank
you're
you.
using as well. Yeah, it's very moving. All the work has been very moving, very powerful, and extremely emotional. So I thank you, Kelvin, for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly. I'm a graduate from Snyder High School as well.
Yeah, I actually love that place. I've been there for 20 years. You know, I enjoy Snyder, and we're a well-kept secret. People hear rumors about Snyder, which are not true at all. They're just not. I mean, our students are amazing. I do feel old when I see my students that I've taught.
How about 1969?
Wow. Yeah, it's a beautiful, Snyder's a beautiful community. And, you know, we have artists, we have dancers, we have musicians, we have everyone in there. And then the staff is amazing. So, I mean, people think we're weird, but the way that we are with our students tend to gravitate to the arts, the art teachers, and the way we care for them, and we take them in, and we form these bonds with those students that they last forever. So kids I had 20 years ago always return and say thank you for being more than just an art teacher. And I've only found that at Snyder. Snyder is home. I won't leave there until I retire. It's a beautiful place to be. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. And so we're going to move on to our next presenter, Faviola Reyes, who is jewelry and metals student. And she's going to present her work that shows sort of her engagement, I think, with the natural world. And so.
Hello, my name is Faviola Reyes. I am a jewelry major. Thank you for everyone for coming to the show. I'd like to thank my mentors, my professors, and friends and family for supporting me and helping me from guiding from this show. What inspired me from my pieces is when my professor was showing a video of a woman explaining what jewelry is. And she was saying how people, when they wear jewelry, they only wear it for social statuses or beauty. But for her, wearing jewelry is a sign of protection. It's a sign of identifying what you are and what you present yourself. So that's why my show is called Protection, Mothers, and Faith. Next slide, please. My pieces imitate feelings that tend to have a psychological impact, a sense of safety, love, and comfort, similar what to a mother may provide. So here, this piece, we have a gecko leaf necklace and earrings. Nature is like a living being to me. Um, gecko leaves. Gecko leaves, when I approach them, I love the flowiness of the sides. I love the texture. I love how it's the color yellow. So I created a piece of gecko leaves, which is hammered and textured, and have that flowiness that goes around your neck, but also have a set of earrings that comes with the necklace, which is 2 pieces soldered together, and they're kind of like studs. Gecko leaves are symbols of purest control and a balance that we convince of nature in our identity and unity through the kinds of compassion. Next slide, please. So here we have this piece called the Weeping Willow Necklace and Bracelets. Weeping willows are very beautiful leaves where they're kind of like a really huge size. The meaning behind weeping willows is symbolized that gives us hope, a sense of belonging and safety. It has the ability to let go of pain and suffering. So for this piece, it has like has the leaves connected through your neck. Also has a very organic shape of a heart. And it has a stone, which is a moonstone, that is a sign of protection. And then goes around your neck, with falling the leaf on the center. Next slide, please. Here we have tree leaf earrings, which is a porcelain clay design. It has a beautiful blue and green glaze. It symbolizes the rebirth of a tree that loses their leaves. And it shows it does die, but it has new buds and does revenge and new. Next slide, please. And here we have a brooch called the Tree of Life, which is also made by the porcelain clay. The Tree of Life symbols development, uniqueness, and beauty, but it also represents the interconnectedness of every in the universe. It symbolizes tenderness and service as a reminder that you are never alone or isolated, but rather than you be connected to the world. Next slide, please. So here we have a bust that is called the Mother of All the Living. So the Mother of All the Living, I was inspired by this verse in the Bible that was explaining how Adam named his wife Eve because she will be the mother of all the living. So Eve means life or living. I was inspired by this verse. I came up with this concept in my imagination that a living female known as Eve, Mother Nature, and Mother Goddess as a living being of the form of a tree, where she bears fruits that are her children, and her leaves drop water and feeds them so they could receive eternal life. So inspired by this, my mother, who was, me and her didn't had a really strong connection, and we did argue a lot. But later on, I noticed the suffers that she and the sacrifices that she made for 4 siblings, including me. During the process, I noticed how it was keep breaking, and I always had to like fix it back. So the breaking represents the struggles of any mothers and the sacrifices they make for their kids. So I did like a really nice metallic white pearl paint on it so she could shine. And it's just not my mother, it's everyone's mother that is in this piece. The necklace is also separate. It's very sculptural. I put different kinds of flowers because it has different meanings, but it also represents every flowers from their moms. Like the roses means I love you. The sunflower means happiness. The hydraceas means laughter. So I want to this concept, I want everyone when they see this piece, she's screaming to you, I love you. Because now That's what my mother says when she leaves or when I leave to school. She always says, I love you. Next piece, please. So these are peach earrings. I use peaches because peaches reflect happiness in all the areas of our life and the satisfaction that comes from being in peace with our health work and relationships. But the peach also represents the children that the female tree bears fruits. So I use peach seeds because I love the texture. I love the wood. It's very organic. I put a pearl on top of it because it represents unity and mortality. Then I added a hammered sterling silver metal on top. Next. So wood rings. Wood rings, one is bronze and one's is silver, but it represents, symbolize humanity. So for a mother, in order to create a life, you need a significant other in order to create that life of a child. And it has no boundaries. Anyone could claim these rings. Love across is all. And I added a opal on the silver ring because it also means a protection of self-love. And next slide. Mushrooms earrings. I wanted to create a fun piece where it has a very notation and it has a little bell in there. Mushrooms, the type of mushrooms I use is called fungi alcrake, which is a very poisonous mushroom, but in general, mushrooms for me are what they use for medication. And for me, nature provides life like a mother because it gives food and water, medication, and shelter like a mother would do for a child. So I, for the piece, I did brass and copper, domed it to like a mushroom shape, and I added a wood organic cut on the bottom to have that notation. And thank you, that's for the show.
Faviola, I love all of these. I'm a nature person. I think there's a couple people in here who might know. I hike often, and when I mean I hike all year long. I go to waterfalls, I go to mountains. They're beautiful. Like what I can see right now, I kind of see like these nude women in these fields with your jewelry on and being photographed with it on. Like they're being adorned by your work. I don't know why, but that was the first thing I saw when I saw the necklace. So the necklace alone, I can just see this woman being completely wrapped in your necklace, you know? So I don't know if you've thought about that. And this is beautiful. Like I can see a really dark woman having these earrings on and having the necklace around her, but being photographed in the woods near trees. There's just something about that. I see someone else saying that they might be interested in buying. Like I have gauges, but the shroom earrings, I'm like, oh my God, I want them. Can they be made into gauges? You know, your trees, you know, your reflection on trees. I have this thing with trees. I chase trees. People think, you know, that's very hippie to chase a tree or hug a tree. I just want to maybe, I don't know if you know about these certain trees, but there's this tree called the kapok tree. The kapok is the most amazing tree I've ever seen in my life. The kapok tree, you can get into it so it can hug you.
Is that the wood of life? The wood of life tree?
It's similar to that. The kapok tree. The kapok tree comes from the Mayans, and it's known that the kapok tree, the roots grow east, west, south, and north. So the kapok tree is grounded in every direction. And the Mayan gods have this, the tree is known that they gifted us with this tree so that we can go there for guidance and for healing. So the kapok tree might be something that you can look into. It might give you the forms to make your jewelry. The other tree, which is something that I love and I have to be near it, is the banyans. The banyan trees they have so many different roots that move around, and it made me think of your peach, the peach that you like. So banyans have those different roots that they're never shaped the same. And they actually grow like, it looks like this hair. They form these locks that come down. And once the locks form, they get into the ground, and they're not roots, they're thin and they connect to the ground. The other thing when I'm thinking of your work is very feminine. And there's another tree called I call it the naked tree. It's gumbo limbo. And you might like to look up that, because the gumbo limbo tree kind of looks very bronze. It has that to it. There's very shine to it, but it's very natural. It doesn't have bark. It's completely naked. So yeah, these are beautiful. I mean, just, you know, when you're in nature, and the fact that you're taking from nature, and putting this into your earrings, your rings, I definitely see women wearing these. I with nothing on. I don't know why it's there, but that's what I visually see, is just this woman, beautiful woman, you know, doesn't matter the size, just wearing your work and it being photographed. So I don't know if that kind of helped at all.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faviola, for your presentation. Again, I direct you to the comment section, of course, after your presentation, to read the feedback for all of you so far again. And so we have our final student about to present is Selena Bonilla, who is an illustration student, and she's going to show concept art for her game that she's designed called Regard. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Encore. Selena.
Hello, my name is Selena Bonilla. My series is called Regard Encore, which means look again in French. With my game concept, I wanted to portray a world where characters from different walks of life come together to save the world, when under normal circumstances, they might have never given each other a second look if they happened to pass each other on the street. By the end of the game concept, they would have realized that it would be worth looking again before dismissing someone by their outward appearance, because we never know what a person is going through or what they've gone through to end up as the person you see now before you. This journey begins when the characters get stuck in the online game Regard Encore. Next. Main cast. This is the main cast of characters I created for the concept. I wanted them to look distinct from each other: a model, a college student, a delinquent, and a germaphobe. I tried to make sure that in some way their outfits would show a basic outline to the type of character they are. These are the characters' outfits when they are not playing Regard Encore, or rather their offline outfits. They all have protective clothing because in their real world environment, when they are not playing the game, pollution in the environment produces weather like rain that can harm the characters. And so I have designed their clothing to have sleeves, or at the very least hoods. The outfits have a near futuristic feel to them, as the story is set in the future, but not so far into the future that clothing becomes unrecognizable. Next. These are our close-up detailed outline of the online outfits that the characters have when they do play Regard Encore. This outfit set is what the characters look like when they go online in the game. Their clothing emulates the classes they play as, such as Magic User, Animal Tamer, Archer, and Assassin. Next. This is the priest NPC. This dog character is the NPC the characters first see when they die in the game and respawn at the church where the dog dwells. I wanted the dog character to have a different personality at each area it would be found in. I also made a merchant NPC that the characters can go to purchase items when in the game, which can be seen in the gallery. Next. Church respawn point. The church is a place where players enter the online game and also leave it. It is also a place to respawn when they die, but it becomes somewhat useless when no one is allowed to exit the game. Characters then use it as a place to feel safe and think clearly when things get difficult. despite the fact that they are stuck in the game. Next. This is the goddess ruins. The ruins in the game are an environment I wanted the characters to explore in search of clues into finding a way to escape the game and honing their strengths by battling monsters that dwell there. Next. This is a detailed online outfit, a close-up of one of the online outfits belonging to one of the main characters that is a magic class. I wanted the outfit to feel delicate and sweet with the ruffles on the skirt and sleeves. The bubbly feel of the outfit serves as a memory to the characters for what the game should have been like, fun and relaxing rather than a fight for their lives. They get into many difficult situations in the game because of the game's villain. Next. Villain concept. This is a character concept for the villain and his sickly sister. This villain helped create the game Regard Encore so that he could pay for his sister's medical bills, but he was fired prematurely after the success of the game and set out for revenge. I made him look meek and tired. Next. This is the dancer NPC. This is a detailed close-up for the dancer class. Next. This is a detailed close-up of the guard NPC in the game. And I would like to end this on what inspired me to create a game concept or the visual novel styled fighting games I played before and the lasting impression they leave on the people that play them. Being in a difficult situation with my family, I gravitate towards stories with characters that have a heartfelt journey. Despite the bad times in life, they get back up and keep at it with even more energy than before. Even if the road and life we have towards reaching our goal is not perfect, it's the people you meet and the relationships you build with one another along the way that make the goal at the end of the road worth the trials and tribulations. I'd like to thank my mentor, Professor Quinn, for helping me with the conception, just the process for this. And I also graduated from Snyder High School from the arts program, and thank you all for being here.
Selena, it's so, for me, it's breathtaking to see graphite. I love graphite. Sometimes I see a lot of artists and I think that they forgot what graphite is, and pencil drawings and rendering. And just you saying that you went to Snyder for the visual arts program, I know that there is a huge focus on drawing and rendering and using the pencil and the details of each drawing, because that's how they teach their classes. So I love looking at this and just seeing the details. I want to see these up close. I don't know if there's a way of seeing them. They're really, really beautiful. And I want to see the details of each of them. I can see them here, but I would like to be in front of them to see that, because I teach the drawing class at Snyder, the introduction to drawing class. And just that use of the pencil and being able to create those shades, those shadows, those values, the movement, and they're very beautiful. Like your drawings, the movement of each drawing is very beautiful. So I love that. I love that you're doing that. So when you do that, then you build to your color, and then from your color you build to the game. Yes, is that how it works?
Yes, that's the process.
Were you in school with Daniela? Daniela's animation as well.
No.
She would do, it was the same way. Like she would do these beautiful drawings, the renderings, and then she would transfer them to the color, and then from the color to the actual animation of it. Is this all together now where you can actually play it, or is this just the beginning stages of it?
Beginning stages of it. I would like to continue on it and perhaps see if I can outsource some coding or get some demo going.
Very nice. And your splits, NJCU offers coding, yes?
I'm not sure. I didn't look into it.
I know that there's a program in Jersey City which is for females who code, or women who code. That's a big thing, so you might want to look into it. I know it's offered.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, they're really nice. I thank you guys for inviting me. I hope that my advice or words helped. Like I said, I don't speak much at all in the public Deborah knows we are in the same space. I kind of stay in my little hole, my little space, and I create. I don't come out and say much. When I'm with my students think I'm a goofball, but I'm so used to my students. You know, when they come in the class, they just think I'm out there. So it's kind of hard for me to speak in this way, but I just being able to see your work makes me want to go into my studio and create. So that's the best part. And I think some of you have Miss Jack or Deborah as your professor. That's pretty outstanding to have her as your professor to lead you and guide you. And what I've learned is very hard. So when you find that one professor or that one mentor that you want to stick to, you kind of like grow with that person. My mentor comes out of NJCU, one of them, and that's Ben Jones. So I walked in today and I actually received this envelope from him. I actually have it across from me. So we do lunch dates once a month so we can check in. And I walked in and I saw this today and I'm like, oh, I got a package from Ben. So I kind of get so excited, you know, and he's been my mentor since I was like 15 years old, but I always get excited to receive little things from him. So what I can say is all of you have these mentors and you have professors and you're thanking them. Never lose that relationship with them when you graduate. So even though you go on to get your master's or whatever, please keep that. If you learn anything from me, is to keep that connection with your mentors, because I'm 43 years old. My mentor, Ben, I don't think anyone knows how old he is. But like, I really don't. Like, it's like this mystery. No one knows how old he is. I just know his routine. He goes to the gym early in the morning. He's in his studio and he goes back. But my mentor who passed away was 96 years old. And she passed away 2 years ago, Miss Grauer. And when I tell you, she was my best friend. Like, you know, you have this 96-year-old woman where I didn't even know that. I knew her age because I shared her birthday with her every year, but I didn't see a 96-year-old woman. So same thing with Ben. I don't see his age. I just see his youth, his wisdom. And I can't, every month I need to sit with him and get advice and feedback so that I can create. So whoever your mentor is, your teachers, your professors, stay close to them even when you graduate. Like my 8th grade ATC teacher is Freda Tone. I went to, you know, number 28, and I'm still close to her because that teacher saved my life. I was such a bully. And, you know, I was drawing something and she was like, oh, wow, you can draw. You'll never get suspended again. Come sit with me. And I thank her for that every day. So when you find that bond or that relationship with your mentor, your professor, those people in here that you're giving, you know, praises to and thanks to, don't stay connected to them. That's what I can tell you as a professional artist now. If I would have lost that connection to my mentors, and one of those right now being Ben, I don't know what I would have done. I value our friendship, our relationship, every day, you know, and just keep that connection with those people.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Yeah, you've it's been great to have you here. For the record, I had no idea. You call yourself shy, but I have no idea of your shyness at all. And I think that your words are very inspiring to all the students. It's nice to see some of your former students in the chat earlier too.
Oh yes, I saw a couple of them.
So yeah. That's really great. And students, it was nice to hear all of you speak, and everyone put so much of their personal selves into the work, and it's really good to hear you all talk about it, and for me to make connections of what I see in the galleries to what, you know, the backstory is for all of your journeys as artists. It's really wonderful. I hope you'll be able to bring friends and families to the gallery over while it's up, and everyone else can also see everything online, as Deborah mentioned earlier. But great job, everybody.
Deborah, your students are welcome to come to 150 as well. I don't know if, you know, they want to. They can definitely reach out to me on Instagram if they would like to come in there. My mid residency show will be up in 3 weeks. It's actually going to be at 150. It's 10 pieces that will be there. So you're more than welcome if you guys want to come and meet me, see my work. You can come see the series that I'm building. In October, I have my solo show. It's at the Glass Gallery at Mata Contemporary. So if you guys want to come to that, you can come to that as well. But I can put, I guess, Deborah, I can put my Instagram in the chat and put up the information. Just reach out, guys, if you would like to come in and just see the work. But it's up to you.
That's a very generous invitation to have them come to your studio, and I hope some of them take you up on this like really great offer to sort of see what it's like after school, you know, what a studio looks like, because I can attest to the fact that her studios are working, as you know, there's work happening in there in progress all the time, which is great. So definitely thank you so much for being so generous with our students as well. And congratulations, guys. Presentations went really well. You can breathe again. You're all it went well. And thank you so much for the CFA staff for really helping us in doing the tech run-throughs. It really gives the students an opportunity to see what it's like to, you know, sort of transition from the sort of student to a professional space, and working with your team really does help do that. So thank you to all of you. And thank you to the audience for coming and supporting the students who really committed to making these projects and what we all can attest to are stressful times, but they pushed through. And so if you're able to come and see the work that's in the galleries, especially, you know, all the work looks so much different. It's a completely different experience in person, and to see the amazing ceramic pieces and sculptural pieces and paintings and the illustrations, you can get up really close to them and interact with the work in a different way. So I, you know, want to encourage you to make the trip to the college. It's pretty safe and pretty quiet. So thanks again.
I just have to say, I'm quelling. We want to go Yiddish here, but it's, your work is so beautiful, so inspiring, and from the seeds of where you started with your visions to what you created, it's just immense. So thank you all for your amazing work. Danielle, Deborah, Eileen, just a blessing to have you. So thank you so much. I'm gonna have, well, first of all, Justin Tinker, our technical director, Anna Carhart, our theater manager, Sabrina Sabalo, our box office manager and Zoom maven. We thank you very, very much.